Chapter 3. Weather and Climate. A quick glance. Weather and climate. Elements of weather and climate. Difference between weather and climate. Instruments for measuring elements of weather and climate. Isoyates and isotherms. Weather is the day-to-day condition of the atmosphere of any place. It includes temperature, atmospheric pressure, humidity, precipitation, wind, clouds, etc. Weather can change dramatically even in a single day or from day to day. Thus, weather can be defined as the condition of the atmosphere at a particular place and at a particular time. For example, it may be bright and sunny one day, while it may be cloudy or rainy on the very next day. Even on the same day, the weather may be warm and sunny in the morning, and then it may be cloudy and rainy in the evening. Thus, weather is always changing. It is not constant. At the same time, you must have noticed that weather relates to a very small area. It may be raining in your town, while a town few kilometers away may have bright sunshine. Weather is a very significant factor that influences our daily lives. Information about the weather enables us to take precautions against bad weather. It helps us to plan our daily activities. It determines the type of clothes we wear. We wear a raincoat or carry an umbrella on a rainy day. The meteorological department gives out weather forecast every day to inform the general public about the weather conditions and prepare accordingly. Climate is a part of the natural environment. It affects the landforms, soil types, and vegetation of all the places on the earth. The clothes we wear, food we eat, and the types of houses in which we live are all related to the climatic conditions of different regions. The term climate should not be confused with weather. Climate is different from weather. Weather is the day-to-day condition of the atmosphere of any place. It can change dramatically in a single day. Climate is generally defined as the average state of weather or the general atmospheric condition of a place over a long period of time. Climate of any place is determined by the observation of the average weather conditions of that place over a period of 30 to 35 years. The climate of a place is permanent in nature. Its changes are very slow and negligible. It remains constant over long periods of time. Geographers have divided the world into different climatic zones depending upon the type of climate. For example, India has a tropical monsoon climate, whereas Antarctica has polar climate. Amazon belt and Congo-Zaire basin have equatorial climate. Central America, East Africa, and East Brazil have tropical marine climate, and so on. Elements of weather and climate. Climate affects our lives in different ways. It determines the types of clothes we wear, the kind of houses we live in, the crops we grow, and the food we eat. It also determines the kind of flora and fauna we can see in the region. The elements of weather and climate are the same, that is, temperature, atmospheric pressure, humidity, precipitation, wind, cloud. Let us explore each of them. Temperature. Temperature is the term used to express the intensity or degree of heat in the atmosphere. The sun is the primary source of heat and energy for the earth, but the sun's rays do not provide heat to the whole surface of the earth equally. Owing to the earth's spherical shape and inclined axis, there is unequal distribution of the solar energy. The amount of heat is maximum at the equator and minimum towards the north and south poles. Therefore, the temperature decreases in the same manner. That is why the poles are always covered with snow. Atmospheric pressure. Air is a mixture of gases and thus it has its own weight. Air exerts atmospheric pressure through its weight. Air or atmospheric pressure thus is defined as total weight of a mass of column of air above per unit area at sea level. At sea level, atmospheric pressure is about 1 kilogram per square centimeter. We do not feel the enormous pressure of the air on our heads and shoulders because the air present inside human body exerts equal amount of outward pressure which balances the atmospheric pressure. There is inverse relationship between temperature and pressure. That is, if temperature increases, pressure decreases and vice versa. We measure air pressure by an instrument called barometer. As we go away from the surface of the earth, the pressure of air falls rapidly. The air pressure is highest at sea level and it keeps decreasing with height. Horizontally, the distribution of air pressure is influenced by the temperature of air at a given place. In areas where temperature is high, the air gets heated and rises up. This creates a low pressure area. In areas where there is low temperature, the air is cold and heavy, which creates high pressure areas. The air always keeps moving from high pressure areas to low pressure areas. This horizontally moving air is called wind. Horizontal movement of air is called wind. When the air is at rest, we are scarcely aware of its presence. We feel air when it moves in high speed. At times, wind can be so strong that it could become difficult for us to walk against it. Such type of wind is called storm. During a storm, the speed of the wind can be more than 100 kilometers per hour. A wind is named according to the direction from which it blows. Thus, a wind from the south blowing towards the north is called a south wind. Wind can broadly be divided into three types. Permanent winds. The winds blowing almost in the same direction throughout the year are called prevailing or permanent winds. These are also called invariable or planetary winds because they cover large areas of the globe. These winds include trade winds, westerlies, and polar winds. Seasonal winds. The winds that change their directions with changes in the season are called seasonal winds. For example, monsoon winds. Local winds. These winds blow for a particular duration of the day or year in a small area. Therefore, it is a daily phenomena. For example, land and sea breezes in coastal areas. Low hot wind blowing in northern India during summer, Chinook in USA and Föhn in Switzerland are some other examples of local winds. Moisture or humidity. Humidity means the quantity of water vapor present in the air in gaseous form at a particular time and place. The water vapor is added to the atmosphere through the process of evaporation of water from land and different water bodies. Humidity is closely related to temperature. The rate of evaporation will be high if the temperature is high, and so will the humidity be high, too. On the other hand, in low temperature, the evaporation will be low, resulting in low humidity. The atmospheric humidity is of vital climatic significance because different forms of precipitation such as dew, fog, rainfall, frost, snowfall, hailstorm, etc. depend on humidity. Humidity is of two types: absolute humidity and relative humidity. Absolute humidity, it refers to the total amount of water vapor present in a certain volume of air. It is expressed in number of grams of water vapor per cubic meter. Relative humidity, it refers to the ratio of the amount of water vapor present in a certain volume of air at a particular temperature to the maximum amount of water vapor that the same volume of air can hold at that same temperature. It is expressed in percentage. The air is said to be saturated when a given mass of air contains the maximum amount of water vapor. The temperature at which saturation is reached is called the dew point. Precipitation. When water vapor rises, it starts cooling. This process of cooling is called condensation. Water droplets are formed due to the condensation of water vapor. If the temperature is low enough, the water vapor changes into tiny crystals of ice. These droplets or crystals are light enough in weight to float in the air. These visible masses of floating water droplets or ice crystals are called clouds. When these droplets or ice crystals become too heavy to float in the air, they come down as precipitation, that is, a rainfall or snowfall. When precipitation is in liquid form, it is called rainfall, which is also the most common form of precipitation. When the temperature is really low, precipitation occurs in solid form, that is, snowfall or hailstorm. Some other forms in which condensed water vapor of the atmosphere can be seen by us are dew, frost, and fog. When the moist air comes in contact with the cool surface of grass or leaves of plants and condenses into droplets of water, dew is formed. If this dew appears in the form of ice crystals, it is called frost. When the air laden with water vapor condenses in the lower layers of the atmosphere close to the surface of land or water bodies, fog is formed. Different types of clouds. You must have observed that clouds keep on changing their shapes in the sky. They are called by different names depending upon their shape and height above the ground. Cirrus clouds are high clouds found at an altitude of 6,000 men to 12,000 men above the ground level with a feathery or hair-like appearance. These clouds consist mainly of ice crystals. They are mostly rainless. Cumulus clouds are found at an altitude of 2,000 men to 6,000 men above the ground. They are medium clouds with a puffy wool-like appearance that are thick enough to shadow the sun and the moon. They often bring heavy showers and thunderstorms. Stratus clouds are found at an altitude of more than 2,000 men above the ground. These clouds are dark gray in color and spread over wide areas. They cause drizzle. Nimbus clouds are found at an altitude of less than 2,000 men. These are very dark, thick clouds that appear as deep gray color patches in the sky. They bring continuous rain or snow. Different types of rainfall. There are three types of rainfall that occur in nature: orographic rainfall, cyclonic rainfall, and convectional rainfall. Orographic rainfall. This is the most widespread rainfall. It occurs when the mountains stand in the path of moisture-laden winds and force them to rise. As the air rises, it expands and cools. As a result, rainfall occurs. As the air crosses to the other side, leeward side, it loses most of the moisture. Therefore, the other side receives less rainfall. The other side of the mountain is also known as rain shadow area. Cyclonic rainfall. This type of rainfall is associated with cyclones and depressions. Warm and cold air have different densities and hence do not mix well. The warm air, being less dense, rises gradually over the mass of cold air, expands further and cools, and causes rainfall. Convectional rainfall. When the air near the surface of a place becomes warmer, it begins to rise in the form of convection currents. As it reaches the upper layer of the atmosphere, it cools and causes rainfall. Convectional rainfall is a common phenomenon of the equatorial regions. Difference between weather and climate. Weather changes are fast and abrupt. Climatic changes are very slow. Weather may change within a very short time. Climate remains more or less unchanged over a long period of time. Weather is the state of atmosphere at a particular place and at a particular time. Climate is the regular pattern of weather condition at a place over a long period. Instruments for measuring elements of weather and climate: thermometer. Air temperature or atmospheric temperature is measured with the help of a thermometer. A thermometer is an instrument made of a narrow glass tube filled with mercury or alcohol. These liquids expand when temperature rises and contract when temperature falls. The glass tube is graduated, marked at regular intervals so that the level of the liquid can be measured. The two most commonly used scales for the measurement of temperature are Celsius, written as degree C, and Fahrenheit, written as degree F. In Celsius scale, the freezing point is 0 degrees C and boiling point is 100 degrees C, whereas in Fahrenheit scale, the freezing point is 32 degrees F and the boiling point is 212 degrees F. In India and most other countries, the air temperature is recorded in Celsius scale. Snippet degree F can be converted into degree C by deducting 32 from the recorded temperature and multiplying it by 5, then divide by 9. To convert degree C to degree F, multiply recorded temperature by 9, then divide by 5 and add 32. The air temperature at any place keeps on changing throughout the day. A special type of thermometer called 6's maximum and minimum thermometer is used to measure the maximum and minimum temperature during a day. This is a U-shaped thermometer with a separate indicator in each side of the U-shaped tube. One side of the tube shows maximum temperature, whereas the other side shows minimum temperature. The mercury inside the tube pushes the indicator till the maximum and minimum temperature is recorded by the indicators. When the mercury falls, these indicators stay in their respective places, enabling us to read the maximum and minimum temperatures. These thermometers should not be kept directly under the sunlight because the temperature of the air has to be recorded and not of the sunlight. They should be placed in a box so that they are in a shade. The box should be placed at some height above the ground where there is free movement of air. In weather stations, these thermometers are placed in Stephenson screen. Range of temperature, the difference between the maximum and minimum temperature on a particular day, is called the diurnal range of temperature. The difference between the maximum and minimum temperature recorded in a month is called monthly range of temperature. The difference between the maximum and minimum temperature recorded in a year is called annual range of temperature. In laboratories and weather stations, an automatic thermometer called thermograph is used to record temperature continuously. Barometer is an instrument used to measure atmospheric pressure. There are two types of barometers, mercury barometer and aneroid barometer. The mercury barometer is large in size and is not portable. It consists of a long glass tube filled with mercury inverted over a cup of mercury. The pressure of air exerted on the mercury in the cup pushes the mercury in the glass tube upwards. The atmospheric pressure is measured by the height of the mercury column in the glass tube. Aneroid barometer is handy and more commonly used. It does not use any liquid. It has a metal box which is partially emptied of air to create a vacuum. This vacuum metal box is very sensitive to variations in air pressure. It expands and contracts with low and high air pressures respectively. This expansion and contraction of the metal box moves the pointer over the scale to indicate the atmospheric pressure. The unit of measurement of atmospheric pressure is millibar MB. In mercury barometer, the pressure of 1000 MB is equivalent to 75 centimeters of mercury in the glass tube. The normal atmospheric pressure at sea level is 1013.2 MB. When the pressure is less than 1013.2 MB, it is called low pressure, and when it is more than 1013.2 MB, it is called high pressure. Atmospheric pressure is monitored continuously by a barograph. Wind vane. The direction of the wind is ascertained by the help of an instrument called wind vane. It consists of an arrow and a vane tail fixed to the opposite ends of a rod pivoted at its center. Wind turns the vane towards the side it is blowing, making the arrow point to the direction from which it is blowing. The wind gets its name from the direction from which it blows. For example, winds blowing from the east are called easterly winds, and those blowing from the west are called westerly winds. Anemometer. Anemometer is an instrument consisting of cups attached to a rotating shaft by thin rods and an indicator. It is used to measure the speed of wind. When the wind blows, the cups and the shaft rotate, recording the speed in the indicator attached to the shaft. The speed of the wind is measured in knots. 1 knot equals 1 nautical mile per hour. Continuous measurement and recording of the speed of wind on a graph paper is done by an instrument called anemograph. Hygrometer. The humidity of the atmosphere can be measured with the help of an instrument called hygrometer. It is an automatic instrument that records humidity on a graph paper. It is also measured by dry and wet bulb thermometer. This thermometer consists of 2 thermometers, dry bulb and wet bulb thermometers. The wet bulb thermometer has a wet cloth wrapped around its bulb. When the humidity of the surrounding area is low, the water from the wet cloth quickly changes into vapor and the level of mercury shown by the wet bulb thermometer drops. Thus, the difference between the dry bulb and wet bulb thermometers' readings is considerably more. If the humidity of the surrounding areas is high, the difference between the readings of the 2 thermometers is small. The actual humidity can be ascertained from a table which gives the value of humidity at a given temperature that corresponds to the difference between the readings of the 2 thermometers. Rain gauge. Rain gauge is an instrument that is used to measure the amount of rainfall at a place over a particular period of time. It consists of a cylinder fitted with a collecting vessel at the bottom and a funnel on the top, and a graduated jar. The cylinder is kept in an open level space away from trees and buildings to ensure that rainwater collected on trees and buildings does not fall and get collected in the collecting vessel. Actual rain falls in the funnel and gets collected in the collecting vessel. At the end of the time period for which the rainfall is being measured, the rainwater collected in the collecting vessel is poured into the graduated measuring jar to find out the amount of rainfall. The unit of measuring rainfall is millimeters. Annual rainfall is expressed in centimeters. Snippet: the monthly rainfall of any place can be calculated by adding the daily rainfall figures for the whole month. Adding the monthly rainfall figures for the whole year gives us the annual rainfall. The mean annual rainfall is the average of the annual rainfall figures over a period of 35 years. Isotherms and associates. A weather map shows all the elements of weather represented by different symbols. It is a representation of the distribution of meteorological data of a given area of the world on a map. Isotherms and associates are 2 such meteorological data shown on the weather map. An isotherm is a line drawn on the map to join places where the temperature at sea level is the same. The numbers on each line show the average temperature of the places it joins in degrees C. An associate is a line drawn on a map to join places that have the same mean annual rainfall. The number on each line shows the mean annual rainfall in centimeters. Glossary. Meteorology, the science that studies atmosphere and atmospheric phenomena. Atmospheric pressure, weight of air per unit area exerted over the Earth's surface, 1 kg per sq.cm. Wind or horizontal movement of air. Leeward side, the side of the mountain that receives very less or no rainfall. Recap. Weather is the day-to-day condition of the atmosphere of any place, which can change dramatically in a single day. Climate is the general atmospheric condition of a place over a long period of time, determined by the observation of the average weather conditions of that place over a period of 30 to 35 years. The elements of weather and climate are the same, that is, temperature, atmospheric pressure, humidity, precipitation, wind and clouds. There are different types of clouds. They are called by different names depending upon their shape and height above the ground. There are three different types of rainfall that occur in nature. They are orographic rainfall, cyclonic rainfall, and convectional rainfall. A thermometer is an instrument made of a narrow glass tube filled with mercury or alcohol. The glass tube is marked at regular intervals so that the level of the liquid can be measured. Atmospheric temperature is measured with the help of a thermometer. Atmospheric pressure is measured by an instrument called barometer. The direction of the wind is ascertained by wind vane. An anemometer is used to measure the speed of the wind. The humidity of the atmosphere is measured by hygrometer. Rain gauge measures the amount of rainfall at a place over a particular period of time. An isotherm is a line drawn on a map, joining places where the temperature at sea level is the same. An isohyet is a line drawn on a map, joining places that have the same mean annual rainfall.